Well, hi guys. It's Sunday, 18th of January. I thought I'd come on and give a recap to the season and a recap to my last 11, 12, about 10 or 11 hunts that I did after the last video that came out. I could have showed one video and wrapped up everything in just that one video because I didn't have no action. No action at all. We had snow, we lost the snow, we got snow back. The one day we had probably 4 inches. I seen some fresh tracks, but nothing back by that box blind. But that particular morning, I went out at 6:30 in the morning and left the box blind at 10:30. And from the entrance of the hardwoods to, I'm a good 300 yards, give or take, back to where that box blind is. Well, anyway, up front, inside the hardwoods there must have been 5 or 6 deer digging through the snow, looking for acorns. They were littered with tracks, busted all the snow gone, all the leaves, and they did all that while I was sitting back there. So that last video I showed with the deer in it was it for me, for back there. I ended up setting up a ground blind more towards the front half of those hardwoods. Nothing but squirrels. I got close to, if not more than 160 hours of seat time where I was hunting. Saw 6 deer, all total, from mid-October when I was out with my crossbow, into November, or early November, the 3 sits I went out. Then went out to one day, and that deer was bedded. 6 deer. And I saw 8 deer in the UP. So where there's hardly any deer, I saw more deer up there than where the so-called DNR claims where we have an abundance of deer, especially here in this county. Talked to some other hunters, and they had the same feeling. They weren't seeing the deer. Talked to a couple guys that hunt up in the thumb. They weren't, one here, one there, or whatever. They weren't seeing them either. So I didn't put any videos out from that last one of me hunting because there was nothing. It was all a carbon copy of every hunt. So that's, I did film, but there was nothing to show. Nothing, nothing exciting happened. I didn't even see the turkeys. I walked that whole perimeter. There's hardly any tracks out there except for that day it snowed. There was tracks, they were digging for the acorns. I had a few comments from some people, one person in particular that I know. He's telling me I'm doing this wrong and doing this wrong, and you shouldn't be hunting here, you shouldn't be doing this. Well, let me tell you something. I'm gonna hunt when time allows. Is it gonna be the perfect day? No. But when you hunt private property, I know for a fact, and it ain't my first rodeo, that your exit and entry rooms entry and exit routes are key. But when you hunt private property, you gotta do what the landlord tells you to do. So when he's telling me I gotta do this, and you gotta, that property I'm hunting on is pretty much landlocked. There's one way in and one way out. They're surrounded by private property. So, but in a nutshell, I'm gonna go out and hunt when I can hunt, working 6-7 days a week, and 10, 11 hours a day. When the opportunity arises, if it ain't the best day, I'm going anyway, because you're not gonna get him sitting on the couch. So yeah, he was going on and on and on and on and on, and you're not gonna see nothing. Well, I didn't see nothing, but there wasn't even any sign out there. But a lot of us guys, we're not professionals. We're not, we don't have 1,000-acre ranch or hunting. It's just when you get a chance, you go hunting, and that's what I did. And I put my time in, some serious time, both up there, up in the upper, and down here. Nothing to show for it. So that's why there was no videos out on my last 10, 11 hunts, because there wasn't nothing happening. Which brings me now to the recap of the season, which up at deer camp, we had an awesome season. How I didn't get a deer myself, my son didn't get one, the Whitetail Warriors guys didn't get anything. But as you well know, we had Flying Eagle over. Me and Mike had talked, a couple years ago about it, and they couldn't make it. They had prior commitments to go out of state. It just wasn't going to work. So he got a hold of me in April and said, "Hey, is that offer still there?" And I said, "Hell yeah, it's still there." So it was originally supposed to be for 7 guys, but only 4 of them came. Mike's 2 brothers couldn't get out of work. They both worked the same job. They couldn't get out of work. But Mike, his dad, Jake, and Bobby came. And I'm going to say it was the best deer camp that we've had up there in a long time. Just the camaraderie. It was just, there was no drama, no nothing. It was just deer camp the way deer camp is supposed to be. Now, I had Mike and Jake up, and I think it was late or early August. It was hotter than a fox in a forest fire, but we went out scouting. I took them to some spots, some areas where I've hunted before, and pointed them in the right direction, and so they stuck with it. The only one that really changed was Jake, because there was somebody else walking in his area and marking with an axe on a tree. So Jake left that spot, and we found him another spot in a cut. Mike, Jake, and Mike's dad, Ozzy, all hunted cuts. And then we put Bobby in an area where, not too far from camp, where he got up in a tree and had not as much clearing as the other guys, but he got himself a nice 8-point on opening day. Jake got a spike opening day. Mike got a 5-point the third day, and Ozzy got an 8-point the second day. So I was tickled pink. I was so happy, because as you guys all well know, hunting in the UP, I don't care if you're hunting with bait or you're hunting without bait, hunting in the UP isn't no walk in the park. And they knew that coming. But deer camp is the camaraderie at camp, and the prepping, and the bonfires, and having the adult beverages, and that's all into it. It just, harvesting something is icing on the cake. But so my son, he saw deer, all does, and I believe a button buck. And Joe, the other Whitetail Warrior, he saw does and a spike, but he had the combo tag, which got a combo tag. You got to have 3 points on one side in the upper. And I will backtrack. The guys from Flying Eagle, they bought just a regular deer tag, which allowed them to shoot as long as it was 3 points or 3 inches or better. So that's how Jake got his spike, because he just had a regular tag. Now, I hunted my ridge in the first 3 days, the first 3.5, I hunted it one day, a half day. The day them Flying Eagle guys left, I hunted it in the afternoon, took all my stuff down, and then I went closer to the cabin is when I started seeing deer. Trail camera activity on that ridge pretty much died early mid-October. However, I did have a fork horn at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the 14th of November. Now I took that camera down before I came home, and I didn't have nothing on there. So I don't know what happened. I did have a couple of different wolves early on in September, but no, I don't know. They weren't out there. My son's, he hunted a different spot than the one previous that he hunted the year before, and nothing in his spot. He hunted close to camp down by where Bobby shot, because there was more bucks running around. He went over there and sat in Bobby's tree stand and saw them deer that day. And then they left the day after the Flying Eagle guys left. And then I stayed up. They left Wednesday, and I stayed till Sunday. And I saw all my deer after that Wednesday. But no, we had, first time we ever had 4 hanging from the pole at camp. First time we had 2 hanging opening day. Flying Eagle came in and cleaned house. But I think I'm going to change up some tactics for next year, going off of some input from them on possibly getting up in a tree. I haven't been a tree stand hunter since probably the early 90s. And I don't know, I just feel more comfortable on the ground. I think a blind allows you to get away with more movement. I've shot a lot of deer out of blinds. I know getting up 15 feet in the air, overlooking an area is better. So I think for next year, I've been on Onyx, and I'm going to check some spots out for next season. But no, the deer count is gradually coming up year after year after year. Now last year with 5 hunters, we saw 53 deer total. This year with 7 hunters, we saw 64 deer up at camp. So it's averaging between 50 and 55 deer the last 5 years. Whereas there's been years where we wouldn't even see 10 deer. My camera on the ridge was the only spot that had wolves on it. Am I saying that there's a decline on wolf? Because there's talk now that I've been seeing different social media pages. In fact, a guy just did a video from Minnesota that I follow, and they're claiming the wolves are on a decline. Well, I don't think they're on a decline in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Just because I only had a couple on camera don't mean they're not around. And I follow a few pages from the UP, and this guy's showing different wolves pictures every day. I mean, packs of them. So I don't think they're on a decline in the UP. I did see a lot of sign of them, but not like previous years. But they're not on the decline. I will say that from hunting up there for 42 years, they're not on a decline at all. I say if you put your time and effort in up there, good things will happen. it's just, you gotta live with them. I mean, they're there, and they're there to stay. So we just make the best of it. Does that stop me from having a camp? No. But my son did get 2 deer down here. Over where I've been hunting, he shot a 6-point the last day of the regular rifle season down here, and then he hunts a different private property that he shot a doe at. But no, getting back to the brother-in-law's property over there, my trail cameras went dead. I mean, not dead as in batteries died, but from early October on, after I came home from rifle season, there was a buck here and a buck there and a couple of does, but not like early September. It was constant every day. And I don't know where they went, because one day I specifically walked around to that thick bedding area. I walked to the other side of the property, and there just was no tracks in the snow. I mean, it's a couple here and there, but nothing. Now, you guys seen my previous videos from previous years hunting out of that box blind. Every time I went out there and sat, there was deer coming out of that bedding area. I mean, there was all kinds of them, and it just died. And I never had a season like I did this year. However, I wouldn't trade it for anything, especially, a bad season, a bad day of hunting is better than being at work all day. So yeah, that was them 4 bucks. Some guys from Flying Eagle crew came over and got 4 bucks, and I couldn't have been more happier. It almost felt like I got the deer. It just, I'll admit I was worried that it'd be a bust. And Mike and them guys from Flying Eagle, they knew that coming over, but Mike was surprised, and so was his dad, and everybody that hunted them other guys were surprised of the deer sign that there was, and then the runways, the rubs, the scrapes, they were surprised, but I was, like I said, I was just happy that they not alone got deer, but they were at least seeing deer. So that just made my season. But on a personal note, it was probably my worst as far as seeing deer. Not that I didn't get a deer, but especially down here. I mean, I got over 250 some hours of hunting with nothing to show for it. But, I still enjoyed it. I could still be out there right now. We got a bow season still going on. I could be out there, but all my hunting stuff's put away. I'm done. I guess I got burnt out. But if deer camp was starting tomorrow, I'll be right there. So, nope, 2026 for me, I didn't get nothing. My son got 2. And then, of course, up at camp, the Flying Eagle guys got 4. And we saw quite a few deer. So it was a pretty successful deer camp up at camp. It was a great one, and we had a blast. The adult beverages were flying high. Celebration started off with a fish fry at the Jolly Inn. I mean, it was just a fabulous time. I mean, I can't say no more about it. Now, plans are in the works for them to come back next season. A lot's going to hinge on if they get drawn for some Montana tags. But according to Mike, him and Bobby definitely want to come back. And what we also might do next year is a black powder hunt the last 4 days of the black powder season up there, depending on how much snow they get. But that's in the works. But definitely they want to come back and share camp again, and we're going up for our annual spring trip. They're coming over, which is going to be this year the first weekend in May. Hopefully we can get back there because all the flooding that happens. But we're got plans to go the first weekend in May back up there and put some boot rubber on the ground and check some new areas out and go from there. But I'd like to give a channel shout out to Jeff. He's a former Youper. He's got a YouTube channel called Deerhearse. He's up and coming. He puts out some nice content about reloads and different loads and different guns, and they do a deer camp in Oklahoma. He got a couple of nice bucks this year. But if you guys get a chance, check his channel out. Tell him I sent you. I greatly appreciate it. I do have a couple reviews coming out. As you saw, I put some pictures up on a gun safe. And I got another trail camera review coming. I had a few glitches in both of the products. I want to make sure it's right before I put them on here. So they should be coming in the near future here. I was hoping to get the one out today, but it ain't gonna happen. I'm still trying to figure a few things out. But no, I appreciate you watching. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.